Alright, so I don't know who really needs to hear this, and here I am. After I think so many years, I would say about 15 years of my life. I'm 30 right now, but half of my life I was clinically depressed. And I used to have bipolar disorder, type 2. You know, one day I'll be depressed, one day I'll be hypomanic. I studied psychology because I wanted to help other people suffering from the same problems that I had, mental disorders, and that's still a purpose and dream that I still have today. But it's just that I have figured out that healing from depression, not just with medication that just only treats the symptoms temporarily, with fully curing yourself, never again going back to depression, or at least a clinical state of depression, is possible through the simplest forms in life. And there are so many simple just laws of nature that doesn't require any money. Now obviously you're going to have to buy groceries, and you're gonna have to pay rent, somebody's gonna have to pay rent, and obviously, right, and clothing, like those essential things. Yes, obviously you're gonna need money to sustain yourself. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about money like for treatment, medication, surgeries. And what I've found in my life is that in order to treat depression, you just need to get on a healthy diet. A keto diet is probably the best for depressed individuals because there's a lot of research being done. So I would recommend keto to be the first and most optimal form of a diet. But there could be others like carnivore diet, or a low vitamin A diet, or low histamine diet, or there's so many other forms of diets that, you know, if one doesn't work, you can always try the other. You can like keep on experimenting with dieting until you find like your final form, like what fits your body the most. And then there's supplements like vitamins. You know, your body, especially on keto, your body missing a lot of key components, like deficiencies in your vitamins. For example, for me, my biggest vitamin deficiency is in vitamin B. And I found that eating an ultra-receptive form of a vitamin B complex, which is active in the brain, helped me become this very energetic person, a very disciplined person who can carry out normal day-to-day responsibilities and just not have it feel like such a burden all the time. Third one is limiting your screen time, obviously. Just staying away from screens and entertainment. Just dopamine releasing addictions to whatever you are addicted to. And replacing that with walking in nature, and reconnecting with your body and mind. The fifth one is probably the most important. That should be literally in every depressed individual. This is probably the key. I mean, every other thing I mentioned is extremely important, but this one is God. It's Jesus Christ, and He is who heals. 2,000 years ago when He came and He healed the sick. He came to heal the wounded. And especially for people who are depressed, I mean, that's the best type of news that you'll ever receive, is that, well, you'll find keto diet works, and then, that's going to remedy your sleep cycle, and then it's going to, start things all over for you. You're going to lose a lot of weight, and it's going to do wonderful things for you. There's a little, I'm just going to close the window. This is good enough. So yeah. Restore your relationship with God and stay away from sexual sin. That's the sixth one. Restore your sexual cycle, as in, how in the Bible it talks about even thinking in your thoughts. That's a commitment of adultery, and that's literally it damages our soul and our mind and our body if we dwell in those thoughts. And Apostle Paul, he mentioned that fornication, while every other sin is outside of your body and it's not as damaging, fornication, the one who commits fornication commits sin against his own body, which means that 2,000 years ago they already knew that sexual glands and hormones in our bodies, especially in male but also in females, are crucial to our body, like the vitality of our body. And they knew at the time already. And there have been so many documents over the course of the time. And, obviously if I were to rank the importance of everything, I would probably rank God as number one. If you just restore your relationship with God, everything else literally comes to you. And I come from a psychology background, and it's a fancy word of saying just that I have an understanding that human beings are deeply social beings who need love, any forms of love. And the type of love that this world offers is toxic, and it's often extremely false, right? False love, that it doesn't work to mimic the effects of true love. And God is love, right? God is love. So you get love even if you're in a dysfunctional family, even if your family or your friends are toxic and your work is toxic. having God is like having this huge, huge supporter in your life who loves you no matter what. And it doesn't matter if you're fortunate enough to find a partner who believes in you, or a fostering parent who truly cares for you. Because in today's world, a lot of us are not equipped with the social assets of such a loving social support system. And in the absence of that network, what can a person do when he's isolated? And the world is literally toxic because money is toxic. What can a person do except lean on addictions, bad habits that are abusing to the self? Now, it's an act of self-destroyance, if that's a word. And here I'm literally, this is the simplest truth to mental health. The foods that we eat today are filled with carbohydrates, gluten, and sugars that literally are not good for our bodies. They're not healthy. And yet in the most average American diet, he or she consumes so many of these unnecessary foods that are not healthy to the body. And while there are so many diets and types of diets that would benefit a person differently, and it really does depend on your situation with your gut situation and how healthy your gut is. But 100% like keto is so beneficial. But if not keto, like if it doesn't work out, there's also carnivore diet, which is the more extreme version of keto, which eliminates all things except for beef. And then there's so many other diets, like low sodium, but like whole foods diets. And then there's vegan diets, or anything like that are, you're eating organic foods with a healthy gut, endocrinic and gastrological methods, if that makes sense. So if you're depressed, most likely you're not having a good sleep at all, which severely damages your nervous system in a way that affects your mood, right? This is all common sense, right? But to the one, being depressed, like, you probably would want a good night's sleep, away from all your terrible thoughts that are literally killing you from the inside out, right? All these depressive, like, very sad and self-harming thoughts, negative thoughts that are in your brain constantly firing up, and whenever you see the world just full of like this shadow, and it's always following you, it's lurking around. First thing you can do is you can seek help. I am not a certified professional that can provide help to you in emergencies, and obviously if it is necessary, then you must seek help from a certified licensed individual. But here's the truth about what they do, is that they provide First, a psychiatric medication based on a 15-minute evaluation that cannot, as a whole, understand the scope of the difficulties that you, as an individual, are going through. They cannot possibly specify all the drugs and all the side effects induced from those drugs to you, and most likely you will not be able to find your remedy in psychiatric evaluations because of this. This is how the system is built, and you need a lot of time and effort and research and care, right? And they're just not able to provide it for you unless you have an unlimited amount of money you can spend on psychotherapists and psychiatrists alike. And what psychotherapists do is just they listen, right? They listen through a scientist practitioner method, and they give you coping mechanisms, coping strategies like CBT, like breathing and mindfulness, and all that does in the end is it doesn't really give you fulfillment, and it doesn't really clearly solve all of your problems, because God is the only existence that can literally give you hope, fulfillment, and meaning back in your life through love. And psychotherapists are very good psychotherapists are able to do this, but if you're depressed, most likely you will not be able to get access to a good psychotherapist. I mean, if you can, I mean, wow, that's a huge blessing, I would say. You know, having access to therapy is, I think, is one of the most wonderful things and one of the most necessary things. But if you're a depressed individual, most likely you are in a very unfavorable circumstance, financially, socially, and interpersonally. And you probably don't have access to that network. For me, while I was depressed, for the first 5 years, I did not have any support at all. And because of this, I built extremely negative cycles of addiction and depression, recurring, of alcohol abuse and smoking cigarettes, nicotine, and playing video games and watching pornography. All these things, my God, they killed me even more. They killed my youth. And they tampered with the godlike image that I was created with, and that just created this never-ending cycle of depression that I was never able to get out of. You know, and obviously, the more I drank, the deeper I got into those depressive episodes. The more I played video games, you know, the more depressed I got naturally, and the more I watched pornography and kept ejaculating, you know, ejaculating like my vital energy, life force energy out of my body system, just into the waste. The more I did that, obviously, the more depressive and mentally ill I got. So there's the cycle for you. And if you're depressed, you probably have an addiction because you need a way to cope with that depressive episode. And most likely, it is likely that you, first of all, eat junk food, because if you're depressed, I understand it, because you cannot even muster the energy to like pick up a water bottle You know, drinking water is pain for you. It's like a painful thing for you. You know, keeping hydrated is so important too, right? Getting that exercise, getting your blood flowing in your body is crucially so important to you. Talking to someone is so important, but then in this society, right? You know, and especially if you're like me, you know, if you're one of the personalities that are introverted, well, I mean, even if you are healthy introverted, like you would still have a limited number of people you talk to, right? But imagine if you're not healthy, you're introverted, the people around you are toxic, and what are you going to do? Literally, accept nothing. And in those desperate situations, what you need is just read the Bible. Because although it takes, alright, for me it took a year and a half to read the entire Bible from beginning to end. But that year and a half was the most rejuvenating and transformative and redemptive period of my life during my 30 years. You just stop watching, you just stop everything that you're doing on the phone. Literally, if you're depressed, right, you probably, I'm not condemning you when I'm saying this, this is like just a likelihood. You probably don't have people you can call to. And, you know, you might, and eventually, like how I did it, like I just made that other person leave me because that was a lost cause. Although that person was such a nice person to me, right? Because I was such a depressed individual, I couldn't really. And those are like, it might sound like they're excuses, but if you keep your life going on like that for years and on, eventually you are going to end up hitting rock bottom in your life. And that's the period of your life where God is literally just a prayer away. He's literally the closest in your life that he has ever been. And when you start praying, you know, obviously things start to happen. You start to believe in God and believe in his word of truth. And the love you receive from God, it literally transforms lives. Because love is what literally makes a man strong, right? A man without love, a man without family, a man without his friends, his colleagues, his warriors, his pack of wolves, is isolated. A man is isolated is weak. And left to his own vessels, he is tempted over and over, and he eventually falls into repetitive temptation and sin, which kills his body and his soul. So if you're depressed, it's not just a matter of the physical world, which has like a lot of issues, right? It's like, for me, right, that I could count so many reasons. Like, first, I was allergic to gluten, dust mites, dust, house dust, dairy, lactose intolerant, and like even the fabric of my clothing, I found I was allergic to. Right, I was allergic to a plethora of things in this world. So many toxins in this world. Cat hair, dog hair, like what else? Certain trees in the spring, certain grass in the summer. Pollen. And so that obviously really disrupted my respiratory system. I couldn't really breathe well. So not enough oxygen to go to my brain in the first place. And I was smoking. I was smoking cigarettes all the time. So I couldn't breathe. Obviously. Like I'll become lethargic because, physically speaking, lack of oxygen. And then there's so many pollutants in my body, so many toxins that I'm allergic to. Then I wouldn't have an adequate sleep because I was so hurt psychologically. I was traumatized every night. I was ruminating over like what everyone else said. And that killed me from the inside out. Like I was in 8th grade and I was bullied. I was very ashamed of myself when all my friends called me names like, oh, he doesn't have any money, he doesn't have any boundaries. Yeah, I was made fun of and bullied. And I'm putting it extremely nicely. And those kids can be extremely evil, right? And yeah, growing up I didn't have any sense of boundaries because my mother was a narcissist, and she was a covert narcissist. And if you've grown under a narcissist yourself, you would know what I'm saying. Like if you've grown under a true narcissist who has sabotaged your life and disapproved of everything you've done and always try to compete against you and has for the entire lives has been manipulating you, never giving you anything of decent love and support, and true empathetic support, and it's extremely hard, right? It's difficult, mentally taxing, and you grow up and you don't learn boundaries naturally the way you're supposed to. You're deficient, you're deprived of maternal love or paternal love, and you don't know how to take adequate self-care. So like healing, right? Healing, just let's get back to healing. Like it's extremely simple. You just need an extremely clean diet, and I would 100% suggest keto, but I tried keto a lot of times and it didn't work for me. It's because I was doing it wrong. So I would suggest that you would first start off like an extreme diet, like a carnivore diet, for like at least 3 weeks. And this is all obviously just assuming that you can afford this somehow. Carnivore diet, and then I would do a gluten-free diet, a plant-based diet, all these things, a fruit-based diet, and I would search up all these diets, but then the final form is always keto diet, and there has been so much scientific research done on keto that it helps with alleviating symptoms of depression, addictions, anxiety, ADHD. It helps with your sleep too. But if you're gonna try keto, you must take in enough sodium, salt, right, and magnesium. And it's best to take that from food sources. So pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, right, are your best friends for magnesium. Take them every day. And then magically, you're gonna have an amazing sleep. Trust me when I say this. A lot of the foods, like the average American diet or any other diet, is actually extremely deficient of magnesium. And the body needs magnesium for restorative sleep. And once you get that sleep fixed up, once you do, you'll feel so much better next day. To create a cycle, to create a positive cycle in your system, in your life, right? And then you fix on cutting out all the negative habits, like smoking first. Just start with cutting off the most dangerous and toxic habits, and that's watching pornography, drinking excessively, alcohol, smoking, and doing drugs, recreational or pharmaceutical. It's just all of them combined, except for drugs like that are like antihistamines, for your allergies, or asthma, like respiratory drugs. For me, a psychotropic medication, I've been taking them for about 7 years. Took a lot of different cocktails, and I assume that if you're very long into depression, you probably are taking, you have taken a lot yourself, because that's how the system works. There is no such thing as a miracle drug. At the time, like, there have been drugs like Neurontin, and right now ketamine, things that are used for epilepsy are being used for depression, right? In the same instance, keto, the diet for keto, was actually developed for epilepsy, and it's now being used for depression, and it has no side effects for like your brain, or weight loss, or weight gain even, or a sense of perception, change in the sense of perception. Rather, it gives you clarity. It frees you finally from that mental fog that has been chasing you forever. The lack of sleep and vivid dreams and after which you wake up, you're so sweaty and you're so haunted and you're so exhausted. If you're depressed, if you're anxiety ridden, if you suffer from ADHD, bipolar disorder, please don't even compare yourself with anyone around you, because you are in a whole different level of difficulty in your life. You are probably given not a good family. You were born in an unsupportive family with no friends, no adequate amount of money was given to you, not enough adequate control and boundaries were given to you. They were likely violated from your youngest moment of life till now. And then you learn this helplessness, right? It has been continuing in your life for such a long time that it has developed into a clinical state of depression. And if you're in this state, and if you're in this state of addiction and you're watching this now, just my life, I want to share my life with you for a brief moment and tell you that it's all possible. The healing is possible. It's truly possible. 10 years ago, I'm 30 years old now. 10 years ago, my only dream was to get better, was to wake up every morning feeling good. Not even like extremely happy, just good enough that I'll be thankful, right? Not to be in a depressed state. It took me 10 years to get here. And here I am, sharing this information to whomever it needs to reach. You know, and I'm just gonna be here, just keeping on sharing this information with the world, because the world needs the cure, because it's in a toxic environment. And the cure is God, is Jesus. That's why he was called the Messiah and the Savior. And if you're depressed, if you feel like you've been wanting to commit suicide for such a long time because you're so depressed all the time, you know, you've never smiled in years, or laughed genuinely, it was all fake. God is the healer, the ultimate healer. And modern science and psychology obviously says mindfulness, meditation is, good and it's enough, but it's not. It will give you that moment of being present in the present moment. And that's obviously helpful, extremely helpful for helping with symptoms of depression. But God is the one who created you, and he knows you, and he understands you. And he literally came in the flesh to heal people like us who are depressed or in cages and prisons of sin. And we all need love. And if we're not able to get it from this world, which we're not, nobody is able to get love, true love, from this world. The only true love comes from above, from God. If you're depressed, can't sleep, you suffer from insomnia, right? And it's so hard to talk to people because you're so depressed. Everyone else seems to be talking about not depressing things, and they seem so happy and fulfilled, and while you're so miserable in the inside, that discrepancy is killing you, obviously. You must seek God, but above all, that is not going to magically cure your depression. Because your depression is a recurring theme of the things that you put in your body, that you put in your life, those are physical, real consequences of the things that you are doing wrong. And the Bible talks about this, right? The Bible talks about sin. A man who is in a prison of recurring sin, first of all, cannot see the truth that is in the Bible, keeps on committing that sin, and thus has to live with all the consequences. And the consequences are just literally, it's like a natural order of things. It's like a natural equation. If you do this, then this happens. If you do A, B happens, right? But God, when He intervenes, He can help you revert that process so that you're no longer in sin, committing sins every day against your body. Your body is the temple of God. And every human being, even if you've never even heard of God in your life, right? Every human being was created in the image of God. And so every human body is the temple of God, is a holy temple of God. Holy is like sinless. You're not committing any sin. But sin entered in this world through one man. And so it is resolved through one man, Jesus Christ. It came through Adam in the first act of rebellion, of eating that apple, right? So this is literally the truth. And I'm not even talking to people who are, just living their day-to-day lives, because they don't need God. They can't care. They don't have the time. But if you are in depression and you're relying on psychotropic medication or starting to, or trying to, cope through depression, and it seems like it's never going to end, right? This is probably what you need to hear, right? I was just watching a video from this man from, I think it was Gooby and Wooby or something, and he was a neurosurgeon from MIT, right? And in the middle of his video, he says, all you need for healing from neurofibrosis, like nerve pain, is very simple. Eat a clean diet, have social support, exercise, sweat, and sleep well. So eat well, basically, they even simplify everything. Eat well, sleep well, I guess, connect well, yes, socialize well, and then move. But I would add God in that picture, because those four things, yes, this can get you out of depression, but the clinical state of depression may leave, but a sense of meaninglessness will still be in your life, present for the entirety of your life. God gives you meaning and hope, and quite frankly, only God gives you true meaning and true love and hope in your life. Because this world has no meaning, no true meaning, no true hope, no love in it. And restoring your relationship with God is going to be the best decision that you can make. And then after that, through His grace, He grants to us all that is life and godliness. The opposite of depression is life, because depression is death. I've been depressed for 30 years. I'm not counting literally the first few years of my birth, but the majority of my life I was depressed. Yeah, and my personality type, which is INFP, by the way, made everything worse, sort of. I was more sensitive to everything. And if you're watching this, you need to know that God loves you so much. He wants to heal you. He wants to put you in a better place. He wants to give your life meaning and purpose. There always has been meaning and purpose in your life. It's just that all these distractions, all these disruptions, all these sin and addictions and bad habits have led to you a severed relationship with God and your purpose, and thus, obviously, you've been feeling depressed. Money is toxic. A lot of the relationships we have in the world are toxic. A lot of the things we do are meaningless. Because God is meaning, true meaning. Without God, we cannot be fulfilled because we were designed that way. We were designed to be only fulfilled with the most perfect, immaculate things of the world. Our tastes, our taste buds, our spiritual taste buds are so finely and delicately designed that we're not able to satisfy ourselves with the things of the earth, of bad nature. We're extremely celestial and highly beings. We were meant to be. We were created in the image of God. And only God thus can fulfill us. It's the highest decree in the entire universe. And filling ourselves with the self only means that we're putting ourselves in the place of God in the highest degree, right? But we're not. No human being has ever been perfect except for Jesus. We were created to be and to lead imperfect lives. No matter how we struggle for it, perfection. Let's say, you're a famous footballer and you score 1,000 goals in your career. Well, does that mean it's perfection? Or yes, you could lead a happy life. Obviously, everyone in the world can lead a happy life. Not everyone suffers from depression. But you need God, and to find meaning and fulfillment, true sense of fulfillment. That has always been and always will be the truth. And the majority of the people are not interested in the truth, I found. There's actually quite not a whole lot of point in sharing the truth with everyone, but this is more geared towards those who are depressed right now. Because you need hope, you need love, you need care. Yes, I care for you, and that's why I created this video. That's why I created this channel, with the vision of helping people who are suffering from mental disorders, alike all around the world. And obviously, I thought that creating a channel could solve my own issues with, making money. But then I soon realized, like, people are depressed. Like, there is no making money out of this. And so money is out of the equation. It's all that sustenance is from God. God alone shall take care of me. And so yes, in a way, I do care for you, and I do love you. Whoever's watching this, whoever needs to hear that, know that you have support. Somewhere in the world, someone is praying for your mental illness, addiction that you're fighting for. And you can't win over it because you don't know how to do it. You're not educated. Also, you have so many deficiencies in your body, especially in your brain, and most specifically in your frontal lobe area, that does not enable you to have self-control over your actions. And most likely, you've been repeating those cycles for, decades. And that's okay. This is not a race. Although the world literally makes it look like it's a race. It's not. And, I'm here praying for your recovery and things that you need to know. Right? You need to know about your body type, about the foods that your body takes in as healthy and as toxins. You have to keep experimenting with every single food source, especially because you're depressed. Some foods, especially sugar, makes you hyperactive, ADHD, and disorganized. So cutting that off, you are going to be, first of all, extremely calm. And then with magnesium, not in a pill, because a lot of us, well, some of us actually, can't even take the pill without feeling like a zombie the next day. Or the pill form of magnesium, especially citrate, is actually going to raise stomach issues in digestion. So, and theorate, magnesium theorate, well, you could try that. But for everyone, it's different. Like, there have been many reports that magnesium biglycinate does not work as a pill form for a person. Like, it seemed to work for the first week or so because the body has been deficient in magnesium forever, and then it stops working. But you need a daily source of magnesium. And everyone has different thresholds of like how much, like the capacity of magnesium. So you gotta experiment with that. So the first things I would do is I would figure out your body type. If you get cold very easily, like me, but the complexity of this problem is that you wouldn't know if you're young, because when you're young, your body gives off a lot of energy. So you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But in general, if you found that you don't do well with cold foods, or that after you eat flour, gluten, your body, or pork, that your body gets cold, then vitamin B is probably a great answer, because that you're probably dealing with that cold body type. If you're hot, vitamin B is not good for you. You need to take things like vitamin A, which lowers, or actually vitamin E, I'm so sorry, which lowers your body heat, and rutin, things like vitamin C. Overdosing on vitamin C has actually extremely amazing health benefits. And also you need probiotics. You don't really need prebiotics. So forget about that. You need to learn if you're lactose intolerant, or if you're allergic to anything. You need to know if you're gluten intolerant like me, or if you're dairy lactose intolerant. I just said that. A refined sugar intolerant that makes you hyper and messes up your breathing system. Or salt, even. You know, some people do extremely well with low sodium, especially those suffering from neurofibrosis, nerve pain. Now, if you have to learn if you have gut issues, sensitive gut issues. There's so many things you need to know about yourself to get out of depression. You need to educate yourself on yourself, like what makes you happy and fulfilled and what makes you depressed. Video games makes you depressed, but you keep doing it because you need social support, but you don't have none. That was my biggest problem forever. Once I solved my problem with sleep, I no longer needed to watch porn. I no longer needed to play video games to feel better. No. Although there are some days still that I, just play video games once in a while. And that's not healthy. Obviously, the final form is to get away from your addictions, and that is possible. Reading the Bible strengthens you so much in so many ways. Praying to Him about all your issues. It seems impossible now. And I need to hear this myself too, but it seems impossible now. Pray about it. And keep doing healthy things. Eventually, this is a long journey, by the way. If it were easy as just swallowing a pill, but it's not. I had to break it to you. It takes a lot of energy and courage and consistency, and actually, that's what makes it the most worthwhile. You've been suffering from this crippling state of depression, obviously, and you're burnt out from being depressed, right? You're so sick of it, you're just desperate to try anything, to try new methods, but what if I'm just letting you know? True healing is in the oldest forms, and it always has been. Do you think that's a lie, or do you actually find that rather comforting? That it has been in the Bible for all this time. Obviously, I think the only thing that is not in the Bible is probably the scientific research on ketosis. It's not that principle, I don't think we can find in the Bible. I'm not really sure that anyone practiced that back in the day. Well, back in the day, maybe they didn't have to do that because the foods they ate were actually whole foods that weren't tampered with. Maybe the factory system has actually created so much of this pollution that has created so much mental illness too. Back in the days, they didn't have factories, so they had to harvest everything. Obviously, it wasn't going to taste like the foods that we're tasting today. So much pleasure that is derived from today's foods. Maybe the human gut wasn't designed to take in all those chemicals inside the foods, or injected in foods whatsoever. And I was listening to this podcast. I don't think this is going to help with your depression, but it was this endocrinologist who was studying the gut-brain connection. She has a PhD on it, and so basically she has a PhD on keto, and she says she's been trying to say and talk about keto as a lifestyle for so long, and yet there has been so much backfire in industries of food-related industries, because obviously all their products are based on carbs, sugars, refined sugars, and that kill the body. And keto being this amazing new lifestyle, if all the people start eating keto and extremely healthy, and they don't need mental support, like they don't need pills, they don't need food, a lot of companies are going to miss a lot of potential clients and buyers, right? Hospitals need patients. America runs on that money. So I guess this is the truth that you needed to hear. If I was depressed and 10 years ago somebody told me everything here and I kept to that principle, perhaps I would have gotten better in a year or less. And obviously you need to stay away from stress. Stress aggravates everything, and the modern day educational system is a huge stress. The work environment, huge stress. So there's that, right? But with God, all things are possible, Stop watching through like endless scrolls on the internet. Spending time watching this video is obviously going to help you. Though I suspect that the YouTube algorithm isn't actually going to feed people who need this video, because they want you to stay in the loop. So there's that. I sincerely hope that you're able to find this video not in a self-seeking manner, obviously, but I'm just not sure if any other video has everything in it like this one does. So there's that. And voila, I'm not depressed anymore. I don't have any plans about my life, and sometimes it's frightening, and I don't know what to do with my narcissistic mother as a Christian, right? I'm still struggling with a lot of issues myself too, but for the past 10 years, actually most recently for the past 2, I am no longer depressed. Also, one last thing, if you have sleep apnea, which you might, so basically if one or both of your parents snore when they sleep a lot, high risk of you having sleep apnea as well, which means that you might actually need surgery for that. Yes, and you'll need allergy pills. All right, there's a lot of money involved here, and when you're depressed and your parents are not supportive, how are you going to get money? And so that's why you need God. And I'll pray for you that you'll find a way to spend money on those expenses. Hopefully. Hopefully you're not in the utmost terrible boat as I am and still. With the conundrum of what am I going to do with the rest of my life. But I know that my purpose is to help other people suffering from depression spread the gospel. And, there are lots of other purposes in my life, but for now, that's the one that I'm going to focus on the most. And so this is, again, a very long video. Every video I take, I think it's all about an hour. I think it's an hour and 10 minutes is around every single video that I make. And when you're depressed, you don't have the attention span of more than 30 seconds, or even 3 seconds even. I quite understand that. But at the same time, I quite understand the depth of this depression. Like how deep it goes down the drain is unfathomable. Endless tunnel of darkness, and the only light, the only drop of light that you need is Jesus. And once Jesus gets into that light, boom, just darkness cannot win against the light. And I'm no good in persuading other people to believe in God, spreading the gospel in missionary-like ways, or logically defending Christianity from a historical point of view. But I am good at listening to people, emphasizing, what's that word? Empathizing, being empathetic with people, because we share the common ground of depression. And that's my vision, is to help other people get out of their prisons, to deliver the faint-hearted, and into feeling strength and vitality again. So yes, to sum up everything I said in this video, you'll need to first of all the order of things, the natural order of things should be, you should get on a diet, keto diet, preferably. Quit smoking, drinking, video games, all sorts of addictions. Sleep well with magnesium taken from pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. Eat like a handful of it every day, closer to nighttime. Exercise. Start reading the Bible. Start getting a physical copy of the Bible. You know, the version doesn't matter, you know, obviously, but the ESV version has the best study Bible. Has been recommended to me by a lot of pastors. So, but there's no problem with going with NIV, KJV. You know, the truth is still all there. So, whatever you can get your hands on it, and then you can upgrade it a year later. Just doesn't have to be right now. Just keep it consistent. Habit of reading the Bible, journaling, and highlighting some quotes that you feel are really present in your life, and God speaks to you, you know, through reading the Bible. But just take care of taking every single sentence literally, because I did that. Because I didn't want to like take advice from other people. I just wanted it solely from God. And I ended up becoming quite fixated on extremely Pharisee-like practices. So yeah, so just take that in mind, that there are certain precautions that you need to take care of yourself when you're reading the Bible. But the average person watching this, if you're suffering from depression, I don't think it would like make sense for you to read the Bible, because it's a very long and arduous process, and Christians, not even Christians, do it. But if you're seriously depressed and you're in need of help, man, what a blessing. What a blessing that would be. And after you're cured of your depression, you're going to still have issues. You're not going to be in a perfect world, because you'll then need to figure out family dynamics, toxic relationships, work. All those things are not going to just vanish. Still going to be there, but you will now have an adequate skill set, an adequate consciousness, enough to make enough of a decision than when you're depressed. So if you're depressed, the first thing I would do is get out of depression, and that takes time, right? So I've been mentioning that for an hour, and I don't know what more I can say. Obviously, there are body types, and specific body types and personality types, and there's also traits. Traits: sanguine and choleric and phlegmatic and melancholy. So you're interested, also just Google it. I mean, Google is your best friend, as it was for me. And reading up on all the material that you can on keto diet, like how to do it with magnesium and sodium and electrolytes if you're going to do keto. If you're going to do carnivore, just taking, I think it was Himalayan salt or something. And yeah, there are a lot of precautions with diets, so you have to educate yourself. You are your own best teacher, okay? And Google is your best friend, so give it all you got. And that's all you need to get away from addiction. And a social circle. And if you don't have a social circle, if you're a loner, like me, reading the Bible and praying to God is going to literally do wonders. Just imagine that there are thousands of angels at the ready in service for you as your best friend. They're there to fill up that social network that you're lacking. The biggest supporter is God, Jesus Christ. Talk to him every day like he's your best friend. You know, and watching videos is not enough. It's not going to fulfill you. It will help you and I can guide you, but I can't live it out for you. I can't be in your shoes, obviously. So, and the only existence in this entire world that can actually understand everything that you're going through is God. Meditation and medication, not so much. So this is the end of it. I hope that you get out of depression, get out of your prison, and live the life that God purposed you to live.